Hey, Stuart, how are
Hey,
you?
good. How are you doing, Jill?
Good. I'm really excited to have Billy Randel with us today from Truckers Movement for Justice. Hi, Billy.
Hey, how you all doing today?
Yeah, I'm excited about this. It's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, what you do. And the few conversations we've had have been really interesting to me because I think it underpins a lot of things in our society, trucking, labor. And I'm interested to hear your story and how you got into it and what all you do with Truckers Movement for Justice.
Yeah, can you just tell us first, like, what is Truckers Movement for Justice?
It's a labor organization, but it's not a union. Although it functions similar to a union, it's we're a populist labor organization. We're part old-fashioned church revival. We're part labor union. We're part social justice movement. We're just a bunch of truck drivers that think we can get back what we once had, which was power over our lives, within our communities, to make a future that right now doesn't appear to exist for our children, our grandchildren. I preach religiously and have been for decades the concept of the Iroquois' 7-generation principles, that what we do today must allow for the next 7 generations to live in harmony together and with all creatures of the Creator and Mother Earth. People don't think about those things. In fact, we had a brother the other day from one of our allied organizations say to me, Billy, I really don't think during these meetings folks really want to get that deep into visionary stuff. Well, quite honestly, if you don't want to start talking about that, then you don't belong sitting at the table with me, because that's what you're going to hear. Many, many, many decades ago, before both of you were even born, I started out in the labor movement with the United Farm Workers Union. Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, Richard Chavez, many other great people. An incident occurred at a picket line in New York. I got beat up by a bunch of mafia-backed people. And Cesar got on the phone to Dolores and said, you need to rein Billy in because he's going to get killed. And Dolores said, ain't nobody going to stop him from what he thinks he has to do. Although they did send a bunch of folks up there to visit the people that took my ass apart.
How old were you when that incident happened?
21?
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of set the tone for everything, because I don't, what's the saying, what's the words that people, young protege from the industrial workers of the world. Billy doesn't know how to play nice with others. So we kind of keep him away from people until we need him out in front. Okay, because he doesn't know how to play nice with people.
Well, when it's appropriate, there's a time to be nice and there's a time to be firm. And I think I've seen you be nice too, when it's appropriate, but I've also seen you be firm.
As long as I have my coffee. All right. Now that I can no longer smoke, you better make sure I have coffee around me. And toothpicks do seem to help a little bit. Although, God, I wish I still had a cigarette.
So how did you get into what made you really pick up on this idea that labor and organizing labor was an important thing? And how does it tie to those visionary things that you're talking about?
Right.
The largest aspect of social justice organizing over centuries, probably millennia even, is based on what you do for a living. Jesus's movement, Jesus was a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fisherman from Galilee, according to ancient statute. Jesus led a movement. Jesus was a union organizer.
Mm.
He led a movement of peasants against the most powerful empire known to humankind up until that time. And he toppled it. It cost him his life. But that's what he was supposed to do. He knew that. So the concept of people organizing at the site of production has always been there in different forms. Forgetting about the isms like capitalism, communism, mercantilism, all of this other trade, all of this stuff. Where do people congregate? You congregate at work,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Or in your community, perhaps, within institutions like, say, church or school, the neighborhood coffee shop, the barber shop, the beauty salon. You congregate there. But those are a little bit different because you're not likely to get into the needs of society.
Mm-hmm.
On the workplace, we've all heard the expression, damn, I can't wait for payday to come. I ain't got no money.
Mm-hmm.
We've all heard that. We've all heard the expression, we live from paycheck to paycheck. We all know what that's like. That's the crux. So I guess even though I probably didn't realize it, I've got a big mouth. Okay. And I'll walk up to anybody and talk to them because I'm friendly and laid back. What was going on in those years leading up to me becoming a young adult was the civil rights movement and Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Those two movements of protest and justice. We hadn't seen anything like that since the 30s with the industrial wars that took place when workers started to organize and people died.
Mm-hmm.
People got beat up. John Lewis lost his eye walking across that bridge. Here in Ohio, Kent State took place. I remember Kent State. I remember marching. I also remember being arrested for refusing to enter the draft.
Mm-hmm.
My kids learned very young, Daddy has been in jail many times. I wasn't ashamed of it. I never killed nobody. But the point being is that the nexus of social movements are centered around where you work and who you interact with. Labor organizing was and still could be, although it's changed quite a bit, the greatest focal point people have for justice. Unions had a vision. The mine workers union had its own banks for its members, built hospitals for mine workers and their communities, built housing for them so that they could get out of the company towns.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That was visionary. The clothing workers and the garment workers did the same things. All right? The auto workers to a lesser extent. Most of the industrial unions weren't really into that too much. But now they invest their money with companies like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. The very companies that control the world and that are involved in the destruction of society through their own greed. I don't care if it's the Congo. I don't care if it's Oakland. Look around. the fracking industry, the trucking industry, the mining industry. Who controls everything? 3 companies. Guess whose pension funds are invested in them?
Mm.
Working people, public employees, Ohio public employees, West Virginia, New York, Cali. They use our money to destroy our communities.
So because the pensions are invested in these firms, is that like a leverage point that the unions have given up, that they can no longer leverage? Or?
The unions, they don't have that vision anymore. They talk the talk, the leadership. Some of the leaders do have the vision. You know, they talk the talk. Teamsters are involved, and I have respect for the Teamsters. My father was a lifelong Teamster. All right. I've been in the Teamsters too for a brief time. Also had issues with the Teamsters over the years, but that's beside the point. Teamsters Central State Pension Plan is their biggest plan. It's also the plan that the government bailed out. You know who manages the Teamsters Pension Plan in the Central States? BlackRock. Who owns Amazon? You would say, Jill, Jeff Bezos does. Stuart, you'd probably agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard have a larger stake than Jeff Bezos. So the Teamsters are organizing Amazon, and Amazon is using the fees that it gets from the Teamsters Central State Pension Plan to fire workers who are trying to unionize. Where does that not make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm kind of stupid. But to me, if Stuart's taking money out of my pocket while I'm trying to take Jill out to dinner, I might want to punch you in the face. So if BlackRock's taking money out of the workers' pockets while the workers are trying to organize with the Teamsters, don't you think the Teamsters would want to punch BlackRock right in the eye? I do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a coming war that's been going on for a long time out in Arizona on sacred ground against 2 of the world's largest mining companies. It's called Resolution Copper. They're going to dig a hole in the ground that's going to make all the other holes they've dug out west look minor. I've heard interviews from people that live in Superior, Arizona, where the mine is going to be located. They don't really want the mine because they've had too many lies by the mining companies over the decades.
Well, what's interesting to me, having spent some time with you, is that, you know, I don't know any truck driver. Truck driving is so far outside my wheelhouse. You know, I know people who've been in trade unions, you know, family members. I've worked in the trades, not in any unions, but truck driving is just not something that I've had any experience with. And hearing you talk about, you talk a lot about like the indigenous people. You have a reverence and a love for animals, it seems, and Mother Nature.
Especially lions.
Yeah, and it's like very.
Lions.
It's not something that I would have expected from truck drivers. Like you know, it's like I'm operating on tropes and stereotypes, you know, and I think that maybe a lot of people would be surprised to hear that a truck driver, labor organizer, is so knowledgeable and interested in those kinds of topics. Like, where's that all come from? Do you have a lifelong interest in these things, or?
But didn't you grow up in Brooklyn?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Bronx.
Okay, and I have had a long time interest in different types of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. interestingly enough, you talk about the stereotypical truck driver. Truck drivers are not tree huggers. Okay, to use a derogatory term we all in society uses about towards environmentalists. But yet, recently, and over the course of maybe say like the last year or so, we have to look at things from a different perspective, perhaps. We need the jobs. We do. I mean, I want to work. All right, I love to work. Not all of us feel as strongly about that as, but one thing we like the road. You'll see on social media, truck drivers will post pictures of a sunrise that you could never imagine. They'll post pictures of a river. I've done it. I have them still on my phone. That's the beauty of life for us. Those are what makes things important to us. It's the same like you walk into a truck stop and you're getting online to maybe get a cup of coffee, and the guy in front of you, he doesn't have any showers on his fuel on his pilot card, for example. You don't know him, but you have showers on your pilot card. And all of a sudden you take your card out and say, yo, brother, put your money away. Here, take my card. I got plenty of showers on my card. He looks at you, or she looks at you. Thank you. Ride safe. That's what makes our work so rewarding. The 30 seconds of camaraderie that happens on a fuel island, online. Somebody says, that the clerk behind the counter at a Love's. That all you got? Yeah. Go ahead.
Nice.
See, we work plus 70 hours a week. We don't see our families. We have little, if any, personal life. We live on the road. That's our community. The picture, I remember, and I was telling this to a Department of Transportation person in New Mexico on the phone the other day. I remember first time I went to New Mexico. Never been to New Mexico in my life. I'm driving across I-10, forget even where the hell I was going. All right. Came through the port of entry, past Los Cruces, and all of a sudden those Red Rock Mountains came up. I had never seen anything like that in my freaking life.
Yep.
And I'm looking at that shit. And I'm looking to myself and I'm thinking, son of a bitch. It's true what the indigenous people say. That's where God lives.
I have chills because I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, and you remember the song, Purple Mountain's Majesty. Now, I didn't know it that first time, but somebody pointed that out to me at a truck stop. One of the drivers, he says, what time did you go through there? I don't remember what my answer was. He said, oh, if you would have went a little longer, those mountains would have turned purple. He said, that's where the words of the song comes from. See, that's all we got. And it's hard. It used to be 4.5 decades ago, being a truck driver was the way a high school graduate or dropout could take care of their family. It's not like that anymore. Now, when you calculate the hours we work and the fact that we're away from home all the time, and you realize we don't get paid overtime, we don't get vacation, we don't get sick days. Might as well go to work for McDonald's.
Hmm.
Because it ain't worth it anymore. Because they treat you like shit. You asked me how I started. One of the big demands of farm workers back in those days was for bathrooms in the fields.
So like
So
farm laborers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the women wouldn't have to take down their pants or lift up their long skirts in front of men. A little common decency or respect.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have toilets. Truck drivers don't have toilets. The current head of the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, a woman by the name of Beth Rooney, several years back, much to the chagrin of my membership, we started a Toilets for Truckers campaign. My two lead organizers that were on the phone with me when I blurted that out to them were like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Toilets for truckers. We don't have any toilets. That's what we're going to fight. We're going to do." And one of them, "Bill, you're crazy." I said, "Yeah. We all know that, though." I told this woman, Beth Rooney, to run up to a meeting that was about toilets and other things with workers and truck drivers in the Port of New York and New Jersey. Ain't got no toilets for the truck drivers to use. Yes, we do, Mr. Randel. Where are they? Those blockhouses. You ever been in one of those? No door to even close for the women in the women's ones. Woman could get raped in there real easily. Killed even. They fixed those blockhouse toilets up real fast. And I said to her, 50 some odd years ago when I started out labor organizing, I started out fighting for toilets in the fields of Cali. Son of a bitch, 50 some odd years later, I'm still fighting for toilets, this time for truck drivers in New York, New Jersey, and across the country. What the hell is going on?
Mm-hmm.
You're right, we're stereotypical. Big-bellied white guy.
Yeah, but something you said that I think is really powerful, which I can relate to a certain extent, which is, if you want to call it spirituality, if you want to call it connection to nature, your experience first seeing the red rocks in New Mexico, like there is a spiritual core, a freedom of the road that I mean, get going on. There's something about the freedom of the road that is spiritual. Wouldn't you say? I've experienced that.
There are many truck drivers that will speak to the fact that they believe there's a presence with them constantly.
Yep.
Okay, keeping them safe to bring them home. I felt it. Coming back many years ago, back in the 90s. My ex-wife, my wife at the time when I got back, "What's wrong?" If I told you, you'd have me committed to an insane asylum, but,
Did you tell her?
Something was in that truck that night. I should have never made it back. It was a brutal rainstorm, torrential rain. I had no headlights on the truck, and I didn't know it until I crossed over the GW Bridge. And I asked the woman at the toll booth, "My headlights working?" "No." "How do you drive at night in pouring rain with no headlights?"
Damn, I have chills.
Something was there. I felt it. I'm too ignorant to know what it was, or even if it was. But don't we all have something there? Whether we believe in the word God, creator, I don't care what you want to call. Isn't it there? somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's there. But we're still not tree huggers.
I'm not a tree hugger. I say I'm a tree kisser. I've said that before. So I have to say I don't know. I feel like I should know at this point because we've been working together for almost a year now. Well, 9 months, let's say. But I don't know when, how, what brought you into this fracking thing and the transport of hazardous materials and, being aware of the concerns for it's silica sand transport, it's brine hauling, it's.
On May 1st, 2023, in Washington, D.C., in front of the Department of Transportation building, 3 top officials from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration came out during a demonstration staged by Truckers Movement for Justice in front to demand our rights, to demand overtime, the right to transparency from shippers and from motor carriers and freight brokers on the issue of the freight bill, and the right to be paid for all of our work time, which we are not. All right. They came out with their little stupid political platitudes. And I basically told them, you're going to talk to my drivers. You need to listen to the pain in the voices of people who came from as far away as California, Mississippi, to stand with signs, feel their pain. And I forced their then administrator and their top lawyer to talk to about 75 truck drivers. Boy, did they not like that. Some of the drivers were real angry, and they blasted the shit out of them, excuse my language. And then I took one of their officials aside who had interacted with us quite a bit the previous year and a half, maybe 2 years almost. And I said to her, tell your boss a message from me. I'm done talking to you. I'm done with your stupid political platitudes and crumbs that you put on the table for truck drivers and their families. A few days after that demonstration, I got a call from truck drivers in West Texas, in the Permian. We need your help. Went out there, I had a meeting over Memorial Day weekend with them. They enlightened me as to their horror show in the oil and gas industry, running sand, frac fluid. First thing out of his mouth was, I asked him, what are you all running? He said, frac sand. I said, that shit's got silica dust in it. I said, that's black lung, silicosis. Yeah. You don't look like you dressed to protect yourself from that shit. That'll kill you in a heartbeat. Other drivers slowly educated us, me especially, to different things in the industry. And you start to look. And as Brother Hollywood will tell you, you peel back the top layer of the onion, and you got another layer right underneath it until you get to the core of the onion. It's all the same dirt, corruption, manipulation, and exploitation. A reporter from the Texas Tribune during the convoy last year on July 1st, I mean, what the hell are you doing out in Texas? There ain't no damn union around here. I said, well, ain't got nothing else to do. So might as well come hang out in Texas a little bit. He asked us, what do we want? I said, justice. And then I use the phrase that we've used many times since then. Clean up your goddamn mess. Towns like Midland and Odessa, the people in the towns can't drink their water.
Yeah.
I got off a plane last year from Mexico, where you also can't drink the water, by the way. And I was thirsty when I got to where I was going to be staying. And the young boy, my member's son, youngest son, 15 years old, I went to the sink to get a drink of water. And he said, no, you can't have that water. I thought jokingly he was telling me I couldn't have a drink of water. So I said, I'm thirsty. He said, we don't drink that water. You only use that water for washing and cooking. Here. And he handed me a bottle of water. This is 2024. You can't drink the water in Midland and Odessa, the heart of the oil and gas industry in the United States. What are you, out of your freaking mind? You're destroying the groundwater. You're destroying the ranch land. For what? So a few hundred, maybe a few thousand people can be rich? Kiss my ass. Y'all attack the oil and gas industry for climate change. Mm-mm. How about for what they're doing to the truck drivers and the oil field workers? The brother I was just with a little while ago, he showed me the filtration system, the tanks, and we got to talking because we used to filter cooking oil to run it in diesel trucks, to run diesel engines clean, without pollution. Might smell a little bit like French fries, but everybody likes to smell French fries anyway.
I want some right now.
So I mean, what the hell? And at the end of the conversation, just before I had to leave, I mentioned some of that shit is pretty bad, ain't it? He says, oh yeah. He says, you got heavy metals in this stuff. Like benzene, you got benzene chemicals in there. I said, some of that shit's radioactive, ain't it? He says, oh yeah, especially in filter stock. And I said to him, brother, man, you got to be careful. You ain't even got no damn gloves on. He said, when I work around them things, I'm careful. I said, shoot, man, we got to take care of ourselves and each other. We shook hands. That's why economic organizing is so important, because that's the camaraderie. That man never saw me, and I've never seen him, but yet we were talking the way as if we had known each other for 10 years. Now, he looked to be maybe late 40s. Looked like he'd been there for quite some time working. Does he have medical coverage?
Right.
Mhm.
Does he get tested at the company's expense, say every 6 months, once a year?
Exactly.
Did they give him cradle to grave? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
Let me step back a little bit. You're driving the frac sand trucks. You're wearing street clothes, just like what we're wearing today. That dust getting all over them clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You're a truck driver. You can't change your clothes before you go home. Where are you changing them? Going to take your clothes off at the fuel island? Folks going to give you an awful funky look. I'll tell you that right now. So you're bringing that stuff home with you. That's dust. It's got silica in it. You pick up your daughter, just like I used to do when my kids were young. You hug your child. You kiss your wife. You sit on the furniture. Unless your wife is a real pain in the neck like my third one was, and tell me to take your clothes off before you sit on the furniture, because you smell of that damn stuff that you work with. That's another story entirely.
But there
The point
again,
I'm making,
yeah.
though, is we're not thinking like that. And what we're trying to do now is make people realize the oil and gas industry is going to live a lot longer than I am. But you need to live under our standards, community and worker standards that mean we're going to have a future. We're up in the northern part of Appalachia now. Damn it, the coal industry destroyed Appalachia. Now the oil and gas industry is doing it too. Are we going to let them? Are we not going to learn from history?
Right.
No, excuse my language. We're not going to let it happen a second time. You want to drill? You want to mine coal? You want to tear copper out of the earth? Cobalt in Congo? You got to put up a trust fund, cradle to grave. You cover all the health and you cover the remediation. That's where our future lies. A sustainable, community-based, worker-owned economy. Hey, Exxon, you want to come hang out with us here in Columbus, Ohio? You can, under our rules, not yours, where people come first, not your profits. Excuse me, I almost let loose again.
Well, and that's the point, where we can relate and how we've been having an impact is our requests, our demands, I'll say, are not unreasonable. Simply tell the workers what they're dealing with. Tell them how to protect themselves. Pay them what they deserve to be paid. Keep them off, following the hazmat routes or whatever so that they're not coming down hills and losing brakes and, killing themselves so they don't kill others, So it's, worker safety protection, properly labeled trucks.
It's worker safety, community safety. Enforce your damn laws.
Exactly. The Department of Transportation.
Right.
Yeah.
The Department of Transportation has rules and regulations that clearly identify this stuff is dangerous. These companies have been getting away with it under the table for a long enough time. It's time for it to stop. Enforce your laws.
Well, and the point is, we're not asking, we don't need new laws to be written. We need the current regulations to be enforced.
Whether it's worker health and safety under OSHA or transportation rules or environmental rules.
Under Department of Transportation.
Right. Just enforce it. And you'll see everything's going to be fine to an extent.
It'll be much better because when you protect
as long as you pay my drivers for all that time working.
Yeah, but as long if you start by educating, properly training, paying them well, what they deserve, protecting and educating the workers about what's in this stuff, what's in fracking fluids, what the risks are with silica sand, then that filters down and protects their family, which protects the community, protects the community. The workers, the truck drivers, they are part of our community. Mm-hmm. So start with them. Mm-hmm. And we have the regulations already in place to do that.
And that's basically what we're fighting for.
Yes.
We're fighting based on workers being properly treated, and therefore their communities will be properly treated and cared for. And industry must be held accountable. And so must government, because the government belongs to us, or theoretically it does, even though we all know government is in the hands of industry, but then that's neither here nor there.
Do you still think there's truckers, workers who really don't know the risks or know what they're dealing with, and they were told to haul water up and down the road and they still believe that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I just saw an ad for water hauler. Mm-hmm. They're hiring water haulers. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm. You see the ads all over social media, Facebook, in the trucker groups that are defined within the industry. No hazmat required. Mm-hmm. 2 years plus experience. Okay. percentage pay at 30%. 30% of what? Of course, they're not going to tell you of what, because they won't show you that information because they're going to cheat you. One thing that goes on in the oil and gas industry out in the Permian Basin, and probably to a lesser extent, or maybe to the same extent in the Eagle Ford shale area, is carrier will hire a driver and they'll tell the driver, well, we owe back 2 weeks' pay. Okay, the driver is not thinking anything about that. So the driver goes to work the first week. He doesn't get paid. He's going to get paid for that week, the next week. Goes to work the second week. He doesn't get paid. He's now in the hole 2 weeks. Company's just made 2 weeks' money. Yes, the company. Where's my check? Oh, I'll have it for you next week. You're going to work 3 weeks with no pay? No, you're going to quit. Are you going to get those 2 weeks that you worked? Nope.
How can they get away with that, Billy?
They get away with it because the drivers are too scared to stand up for themselves and too busy scrambling for the pennies that are out here on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have time. They're on the road driving.
Right,
they don't have
right.
time to like
And
fight.
they're not realizing that if you just stand up one time, it won't happen again.
But what does that mean, stand up? Say, I'm
In other
not
words-
leaving until you give me my paycheck right now, or what?
Pretty much. Yeah,
They're also not organized. I mean,
Right.
That's a big problem.
that is
They
the
have
problem.
no backup?
They have no backup. All right. They're sitting in the middle of the Permian Basin. There is no such thing as organization out there. There's no unions out there. There's nothing except oil rigs. And those companies that are out there, they're working for these small mom and pop subcontractors who ain't got a pot to piss in either, just like the drivers. All right. The big companies like Atlas, Showa, Halliburton, them companies' hands are clean. All right. They got contracts that say we're not
Right.
responsible for the employees of the subcontractors being paid.
Right.
So they stick it all the way down under the table, and the big boys just go play golf with each other.
And there's enough people desperate for jobs that
Because there ain't no other jobs out there.
Right.
And in some cases, the drivers come from Mexico, they come from Georgia, they come from New Mexico, Colorado, because there's no jobs where they came from. Why? Because industry has been offshored over the last 45
Right.
years. So in reality, where's the future? In the Permian Basin, and I'm not talking about up here in the Marcellus, all right, because we don't have enough data on that just yet, although it does appear to be very close to it. But in the Permian Basin, the rate of out of service during a DOT inspection blitz is close to 50% of the trucks inspected.
What does that mean? Out of service.
In other words, the trucks are not being maintained properly, so they're a danger to be on the road. You can't make this up, but you can prove it's all true.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make it up. There is, I don't know where it is, in the basin, a company that I've been told about that is importing radioactive waste from other oil and gas operations around the world to its facility in Texas. Now, I guess the company's having financial problems or was trying to figure out what we're going to do with this shit and try to sell it to a Wall Street company. And the Wall Street company was interested until it did some checking and went to visit the site, from what I've been told, and said, "You got to be crazy. We ain't buying something like this. Man, this shit's going to blow up in everybody's face one of these days."
Mm-hmm.
You really gotta. Well, somebody just said to me today, Stuart, you just said it to me today.
Oh, don't quote me.
You can. Go ahead. Quote him.
Go ahead.
Stewart said, Billy, they all know about this. Right? I think that's what you said when we were
Yeah,
coming.
well, we were talking. It was after you talked to that guy.
Talk to the brother. And it's the best kept secret in the world. Everybody knows about it. And nobody ain't doing shit about it. Well, guess what? There's a bunch of stupid truck drivers that are going to take you down. And we're going to teach you need to adhere to our standards. Because, see, I've got grandchildren that are still fairly young. My grandchildren don't have a future, and I'd like them to. So before I decide to have another cigarette and catch another heart attack, that'll probably be the last one,
Oh my.
I want to make sure that my grandchildren have a future.
What's what's the biggest barrier with workers? Why are so many workers so opposed to unions or organizing in any kind of way? Because they would have so much more power to leverage and to negotiate for themselves, but there seems to be this like cultural push against that in a lot of circles.
Is that because of fear of losing their jobs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a fear of losing their jobs. There's also a lack of understanding as to what a union really is. Okay, the mainstream press and even some of the alternative press have been very negative about unions over the decades. People envision a union as being some form of a service business. Okay, you join a union and you get benefits. That's not what a union is, okay? It is what some unions have become. But what a union really is the three of us deciding that we should have a voice in our work environment.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're all pretty scared about saying that to the supervisor.
Mhm.
Because you got a car payment, you got a mortgage, and I'm homeless.
Right.
And we know what's going to happen. One of us, if not all of us, is going to get burned. There's a young brother now that's working with us. I don't think he's probably in his early 20s, maybe a little bit older. He's standing up for himself. He's getting the shit kicked out of him, but he's still fighting them. He's still going at them. He's not letting them force him to quit. And I told him this morning, you got guts and heart. You just what we need in TMJ. You are the future of our organizing. Because you're willing to take whatever they throw at you, sit back, take a deep breath, and go at them again until your supervisor go, you too. You don't talk to me like that. You see, they are the epitome, a boss is the epitome of the old schoolyard bullies that used to steal your lunch money. You stand up to the bully runs away. He won't ever bother you again. You
Is
stand
that
up.
really true in this? I mean, is it true? It can be true.
It can be true. And in some cases, if it's within a large operation or even a small operation, it can backfire and blow up in your face. Workers get fired every day for standing up to their bosses. The government, once again, does not enforce the laws that are there to protect us.
I see.
The National Labor Relations Board and the Federal Department of Labor are basically a bunch of toothless agencies that do nothing to protect workers unless it's a high-profile situation.
That they can't ignore.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. And that if they adjudicate it correctly, it's going to get them a lot of good publicity. All right. Truck drivers don't rate that kind of publicity.
Hey, I beg to differ because what we got going on, we've got some publicity. So what's different about this? Because we've got an organization like Earth Justice backing us up, because the actual laws are on our side? I mean, what's different about this time? Because people are listening to truckers
Because
right now.
truck drivers and environmentalists are talking together and working together, and this has never been done before.
I hope.
And you got to realize that there are a lot of people within the labor movement now, especially now, that are wondering, can there be paths alongside of each other that meet between the two great social movements,
Mm-hmm.
environmental and labor? The answer to that is yes, but it will not be easy to meet along that road because there are conflicts. It's not the first time this has happened. It has happened on small scales before successfully between labor and environmental organizations. But it's been a blip on the radar, so to speak, and then it goes away. What this has the opportunity to do, and there's going to be an awful lot of difficulty to make it happen, is not just change the way that environmental groups view labor and workers, but to change the way workers and truck drivers view environmental groups. Are we a danger to each other? Probably some of us are on both sides, because we're hostile to a new thought. But are most of us? We hearken back to the statement. Truck drivers have to have water to drink.
Mm-hmm.
So does environmentalists. Got to have air to breathe. You can't build your house on a radioactive dump. You can't send your children. Your children can't go outside and play in a place that's radioactive. So shouldn't we wake up and start putting some of the harder edged pieces away from each other and maybe come to where we can work together? We're battling, we get pushback from labor. We get pushback from the left because most of us are not left. Okay, and there's a lot of folks that say, we need jobs. Yep.
But wait, I've got to take it back because I think we need to explain. We know what we're doing. What have we done? Why have we been getting publicity? Why are we making progress? Because Megan Hunter from Earth Justice worked with us to do what?
The main organizations within the coalition that's there, Earth Justice, Ohio Valley Allies, and Truckers Movement for Justice, Tamek-Soon. All right. We didn't always agree, but what happened is through cross-educating each other, we taught you something about transportation.
Yep.
You've taught us about the hazards that exists in, say, the fracking industry. This was initiated last November by Truckers Movement for Justice, Tamek-Soon. It has taken us now, we're September, almost a year to get to this point. And I believe the folks that have been involved are feeling that something could happen.
Yep. I mean, meaning we've made progress. We've had an impact. Yep. And let me just state that. So we got together, Earth Justice, Megan, you and I, other groups and folks, and then the strategy and what came out of that was Megan did a fantastic job in detailing
everybody.
Well, the actual letter. The
letter that went to Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy and others at both the state and federal level took 6 months The letter was 15 pages long with annotations, and it contained 1,600 pages of documents to back up what the letter was speaking to.
Yep.
In and of itself, that was a Herculean task by Megan Hunter, is a senior counsel from Earth Justice. Now, so far, we have not been told go screw.
Mm-mm.
We have been told in conversation, you're right.
Yep.
See, once again, we go to what you said. Everybody knows. Nobody would have thought it would have ever happened. My own membership didn't think it. Certainly not my executive board. It's here now. The old lion is sitting in the bush and just watching.
And you've got two younger lionesses
Lionesses.
on your either side watching too.
Okay. And we're just waiting for someone to make a move on the other side of the table.
Yep.
No one can deny this has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be. My drivers are scared. I'm sorry, my brothers and sisters. We're not backing down.
What can truckers do who might hear this, who might know, might read an article? What can they do? Do they reach out to you? And also, well, I'll start
You
there.
reach out to the truck driver on the fuel island next to you and you tell them there's a wildfire in the bushes. There's a storm coming. And this time, nothing's going to stop it. Y'all want to get on board and grab onto the handles, climbing back at a trailer and ride with us? Or you going to stand by the roadside and just wave as we go by because we ain't stopping? So it's time to get on board. There's a war going on out here, and it's for our survival. You want to sit back and watch it go, or you want to get on board? There's a saying on a flyer we have. We're scared to organize, but they're more scared of us organizing.